How they live in luxury while our African people, them suffer us. How you strategize all your lies, it's our blood, sweat and tears that built your empire. The system was designed for I and I to never rise, only bleed to fulfill your desires. I was born with both hands on my heart from Mama Africa.
The time for liberation, Mama Africa awaits a revolution. This is the time for meditation. Free up your mind from the lies and illusions. This is the time for liberation. Come make we stand up and start a revolution. In these are times of elevation. Have you keep your head above all pollution. Revolution in the air. My people prepare. No more African children. Not to shed no tear. Full time be aware. Babylon no sincere after all. Who are send the guns them out here? Spiritual warfare. They may rage on the people like they don't care. The world we live in is unfair. Yet a victim mentality won't take us nowhere.
Blessed love, we're here with Honorable Empress Marina of the EABIC. Honorable Empress Marina, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Give thanks. Can you just give the audience an introduction of yourself?
Okay, my name is Empress Marina. I live in New York. I live between New York and Ghana. I'm a member of the EABIC. I'm an attorney. I practice law in New York. I am a wife. I'm a mother. And I am I'm a Pan-Africanist, and I'm a Rastafari woman.
Give thanks. Please explain your role in the African Rastafari new faculty of Overstanding.
Right. Well, at present, we have formed a group to come up with, a way of addressing, a new faculty of understanding for Rastafari in the 21st century. I am a director in that group, and the core group consists of about 21 individuals, but we expect that group is going to expand going forward as we come in contact with others who may have, very important contributions to make to this discussion. It's a very important discussion that we are having because the idea came out of me just being sort of increasingly frustrated with the action and inaction of Rastafari. I cannot believe that we have such a powerful, uplifting and liberating message and culture, and we are not marketing it properly. Moreover, it is my contention that Rastafari has strayed from its original roots, and so that it needs to be reduced. It has come apart from its moorings, and it needs to be reduced. It needs to return to its original roots as a black liberation, black emancipation, black empowerment movement.
Give thanks, Empress. So what, at this particular time, made you feel like this is the time to do this?
Well, as I said, my increasing frustration with the non-action of Rastafari. And, we are involved in all sorts of nonsense. We're frittering away the culture. We're wasting the culture. And black people are in woeful need of this powerful, uplifting message. And it was something that happened, that I heard about, that happened within the community. And I decided, something, we have to do something. We have to do something. We need to take a stand. We need to reassert ourselves and reaffirm, the culture and relaunch if that's what it takes, right? So there have been many individuals calling for a new faculty of understanding for years. And even more recently, you have people like Priest Dougie, you have Muta, you have Rastauto down in South Africa. You have numerous individuals, calling for a new faculty of understanding. And so I decided to lend my voice, to join my voice to that chorus. And said, listen, this is the time, and no time like the present and you got to get, the first step. Got to get started. I didn't even anticipate how this thing would have evolved, but I am telling you that, there are some key individuals, Dr. Desta, Priest Dougie, my Lord, the Daniel, who have really been very, very instrumental in helping me to sort of, helping me to unfold the vision, to materialize, the concept that I had in my mind, the theory, what I had, what I thought, what I was thinking. They've helped me to, better conceptualize it and also to bring it into fruition. Indeed, Mama Desta has been an integral part of this. It's hard when you start calling names because you don't want to leave out, Sister Malika, Sister Mitzi, people who have been very, very much involved. And I want to, I want to pay, I want to just mention them. But there are many others as well, many others.
That's good. Give thanks. It seems like the group, everybody that is assembled pretty much has the same concerns or similar concerns and is concerned for the future of Rastafari movement and culture. And that's what brings everybody together at this particular time. So it seems like it's a good thing, and we hope that it will be successful. Can you give us some precise things that you would like constructively to be the outcome of this endeavor?
Right. Well, we talk about, creating a new manifesto for Rastafari for the 21st century, right? And in that manifesto, we're supposed to lay out, once again, to reaffirm our commitment to the original principles, right? And to the original goal and objective of Rastafari being a Black liberation, Black empowerment movement, right? So it is exclusively for Black people, and that is the way it was conceptualized, that is the way it was conceived, that is the way it took shape in the early days. But separate and apart from the manifesto, which will come at the end of this entire process, which will culminate in a summit, a working summit next year, May, more than likely in Ethiopia. But separate and apart from the manifesto, there are some other things too that we really we need to embark on. I think we need to really embark on a serious educational campaign. We need to start teaching Black people about themselves, right? That is so critical, right? Because nothing can happen unless people know themselves. Right? So this massive educational campaign that I would like to embark on should involve, obviously, radio broadcast or, podcast or, I don't know, Facebook and those type of groups. I don't know, technology, the technology people like yourself can figure out ways to get, social media to get the word out in addition to, print media, writing articles and, however else we can engage with young people, young and old, but particularly the message should resonate with the young people to tell them about themselves, to make people aware of all the systems of oppression which operate to keep Black people enslaved, oppressed, marginalized, and disrespected. Once again, people need to know the source of their pain. They need to know the source of their oppression, because if they do not know, they will come to believe the narrative that they have been sold, that your condition is a result of sin, it is a result of your being cursed, it is a result of all other your laziness, shiftiness, the absence of the fathers, Black fathers from the home, poor moral, low morality. These are the types of arguments that Black people have been given. There are the reasons why we have not excelled as other races have. But those are symptoms. All those things that they're talking about, the absence of black fathers in the home, abuse, low morality, destructive, self-destructive behavior, those are all symptoms of the larger problem. And the larger problem, in a word, is racism. It is white supremacy and the racism, the virulent racism that it produces. And so once again, as I said, we must make people aware of all the systems of oppression which operate to keep them down. And once we open their eyes, then I'm telling you, the rest will follow. People will change their behavior. We must show Black people how they unwittingly participate in their own oppression through everyday practices, right? How we buy into and reinforce white supremacy doctrine. We must show the black masses, right? About the self-hatred that is embedded in the system, that it has created, we now engage in self-destructive practices, right? For example, look at the prevalence of skin bleaching in Jamaica. Look at how the youth in the ghetto and the garrison communities kill each other, right? With reckless abandon. Look at the violence perpetuated against women and the general debasement of women. Look at all the drinking and the poor dietary habits we engage in. Look at how Black women spend thousands and thousands of dollars each year buying weaves and wigs and perming and straightening their hair to mimic the texture of the white woman's hair. These are all self-destructive behaviors, right? But we get messages, we are sent messages by the society that dark skin is not beautiful, right? We are, overtly and covertly, that, that your natural hair is not beautiful, that your thick lips are not beautiful, your wide noses are not beautiful, you're not beautiful, Black is not beautiful, and everything white is good and everything Black is bad. So we get sent these messages, and in response, this is how we have responded. So we are not invoking here, and I am not invoking here this general vague concept of white racism as a cause of Black people's problem, because the evidence exists and it is everywhere. The racism is in the educational system, it is in the banking system, it is in the housing system, the medical system, the tax system, the land ownership system, and it is particularly strong in the religious system. The racism is present in every crevice and corner of the society, so that you cannot escape it. And Christianity is the main purveyor of white supremacy and white supremacy racism. Christianity, let me say it again, Christianity is the main vehicle for transmitting white supremacy and teaching Black inferiority. Once we can get this message out to our people, I am telling you, you need to get people thinking. And then once they start thinking and they start learning and they open up their minds, then they will naturally draw towards Rastafari culture, right? Because within Rastafari culture, we know that Black people are the powerful rather than the powerless. Black is beautiful and divine. Black is celebrated as a merit and not seen as a demerit. Rastafari is a culture of resistance to white oppression and white racism, and the Black inferiority complex that white supremacy culture breeds, which in turn causes us to engage in self-destructive behavior or in behavior that keeps reinforces the concept of white supremacy. Right? So we engage in behavior, because when we bleach our skin, we are saying to white people, yes, I agree that white is better than Black. I believe that white skin is better than Black skin. When we perm our hair, we're saying to them, yes, your hair texture is superior to mine. When we have, plastic surgery to change our nose or whatever it is that we do, right? So we're saying to them, yes, we agree with you. We agree that Blackness is ugly. We agree that Blackness is sinful. We agree that all the negative things you've said about us. And so we're trying to change and become more like you.
Yes, and even
that was a very long answer.
Give thanks, a full answer. There's a lot to talk about, because there's a lot of problems, obviously affecting the African community globally, because we suffer, maybe the most. I don't know if
the most. Without listen, hands down, Black people, we have been targeted for oppression by every other race. We have been they almost have a tacit agreement amongst themselves that everybody believes that they're better than Black. And so we have no friends outside of the black race and very few within.
Very true. So let me ask you this now: as an Empress, you've been trotting Rastafari for what?
A number of years, without aging myself.
Yes, and so you've been around enough to see the history, and you've experienced enough in your life to know. Does this movement, Rastafari, empower women? Because I hear a lot of, praise given to women and say music arrangements, and we mentioned EmpressMarina, but is it actually practically empowering to an African woman?
Well, let me say this, right? Rastafari reflects the culture out of which it came, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Rastafari came out of, it drew upon the only blueprint it had at its formation, which is that white patriarchal system where the woman is subordinate to the man. So that is the only blueprint it had. You understand? It had nothing else to work with, or very little else outside of that to work with. And so it is only natural that it would follow that course, right? But we find that disappointing. We, the Empresses. I mean, although the situation has gotten better, because when I first started, we were not healing the Empress. We're not healing EmpressMarina at all. In fact, it's in the house I heard heal the Empress before. That they're the first people I heard healing the Empresses. The EmpressMarina, I mean. And so that is certainly progress. That is progress. But in general, no. The Rastafari culture, as I said, it tracks the main culture from which it came. The culture came out of white Western Christian culture, and wherein the woman is subordinate to the man. So the subordination of the woman did not begin with the Rasta man. However, we, the Rasta woman, had hoped that it would have ended with him by and through his efforts, right? Because since the Rasta man is chanting against Babylon and chanting for liberation, chanting for freedom, chanting for equal rights and justice, and it is only natural that the woman would have been included in that as well. But he did not do that. Mm. He turned around and he wanted to keep that part of white culture that subordinates women, that subordinates the woman. So, there's a famous book many years ago, Oppression in the Midst of Liberation, that addresses this very situation. Mm. You understand? So it comes now that we need liberation from our liberators. So, right, because the Rastaman still would like to keep the woman in a subordinate position in many respects, even today. Right, so that what I'm saying is that when we measure their performance against their potential, we are vexed and we're disappointed. And we hope, we hope for them to do better. As I said, they didn't create this gender inequality, but they have certainly capitalized on it, and they have used it. So the Rastaman has not shown that he is not unlike the white man in that regard. He has not shown that he's not unlike him. In fact, he has shown that he's very much like him in that regard. And I think it's a dangerous practice too when you see, 50%, human resources is the greatest resource a nation can have.
Yes, sir.
And when you marginalize 50% of your human resources, you're not getting the best. You're not always getting the best and the brightest, right? Because there are bright women there, very bright women who can contribute and contribute meaningfully. Moreover, you need a balance because, men and women experience the world differently. So we will have different perspectives. And so the voice of the woman is very much needed, and it's needed up front. I must say, though, that I've seen great improvement over the years. And that is encouraging. That is encouraging. So I think we are moving in the right direction.
Yes, it's just, more conversation needs to be had between the man and the woman, more unity, yes. And, when we get in tune with each other more, we should be able to the family should be the solution to the African problems and not the cause of the problems. So if we can get the family life better, then everything else really should follow suit. So, and, you know, along that same reasoning now, do you notice any problems that exist, you know, exclusively in the Rastafari family structure, or that you would like to see improved upon, or?
Well, we want the Rastaman to take responsibility for his family. He must be a defender, a protector, a provider of his family. Now, here's what we understand and we know. We know that because of his dreadlocks and a lot of times lots of facial hair, the Rastaman is he's disqualified from certain types of positions, or at least it used to be more so in the past than it is now. It has improved, but it still has not improved sufficiently, right? So that, and then too, there was a time in the Rastaman really he resigned from the white from the system, the Babylon system. Then he resigned from that, because he did not want to demean himself and compromise his principles to work for Babylon. But we must create alternate forms of, economic independence, because you have to provide for your family. And that's what we need. We need our brain to step up and, to work hard and to provide for us. And if you can't do that, if you can't provide financially, you must at least provide, stability in the family. You must provide good examples for the children in terms of morality, and you must be a protector to your queen and your children. So that is, you must be a good example and a protector to your queen and your children. If you're unable to provide, but even if you're able to provide, that is just in general, right? But if you're unable to provide financially, because the world has always, and this is part of the trick of the Babylon world. It has always exalted the black woman over the black man and given the black woman more lives, more opportunities than it has afforded the black man, because that was all part of the plan to belittle the black man even further. Not just belittling in the general society, but belittling in the eyes of his woman. So that's all part of that. So we understand that. Yeah, we understand that strategy.
Is there any advice or, word sound for the woman in the family as well? What is, because that was more so directed toward the brothers. Is there anything that the Rastafari woman, African woman, can do better to secure the African family?
Yes. Let me say this, and I'm probably going to draw a lot of attention for this. But we want the woman to continue to be moral, be upright, be virtuous. I see a lot of women nowadays, Rastafari empresses, so to speak. They're engaging in conduct that is quite unbecoming of an empress. When you see yourself as a goddess and as an empress, there is a certain type of behavior in which you will not engage. So that's why people have to know themselves, right? I'm seeing empresses now running from man to man to man to man to man, and you're saying, my God, righteousness exalted a nation, but sin bringeth a reproach. No, you cannot build a nation with, listen to me, whoredom is whoredom. So if man is but I'm telling you, certain things look worse on woman than it does on the man. So we need to make sure that the empresses are behaving as empresses and setting a right example in the home for their daughters and for their sons. Because a lot of times you'll see, young boys, they grow up and they hate women and disrespect women. And a lot of times it's because of the behavior of the mother. The type of behavior that they see their mother engaging in. You understand? So we must stand up in our principles. We must stand up in our our morality, in our virtue. We must be, blameless when it comes to that. You understand? And I see empresses who say sometimes, they're responding to a man's behavior. But my virtue is my virtue, and no one can cause me to go against my virtue. So I am not going to do something in response to something that you have done. Do something that's going to violate my own principles. You understand?
I do.
So, So I cannot accept that. I cannot accept that. And once again, who know better must do better. You understand?
Yes, sir.
And I am saying to the empresses, if you see a king man misbehaving, that is all the more reason why you must behave. Because somebody must be steady at all, the household. You must have a steady person in the household at all times. You understand? As I have said to my husband before, even when you forget that you're God, I don't forget. I know who you are. I know who you're supposed to be. If you even forget who you're supposed to be, I know.
And so, give thanks for that. And I would just like for you to please explain what your vision for the Rastafari movement is for the future, and explain how you would like to see the movement progress and get better.
Well, all right. Once again, I'm coming back to the education, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think we have a unique opportunity right now. The killing of the murder of black men by white police officers in the United States and in England and throughout Europe and wherever, it has never stopped. It has never stopped. And they have been getting away with it for years. However, now, with the recent killing of George Floyd, this has sparked a worldwide protest. I have never seen protests to this magnitude before. Even in Africa, and I had confronted continental Africans before and said, why don't you join us in our struggles in the States, in the West? And they have always taken like a hands-off approach, as if it doesn't affect them. Well, for the first time now, I'm seeing protests all throughout the continent of Africa, in solidarity with what is taking place with their brothers and sisters here in the West. And so I am encouraged by that. Now, As I said again, we need to get on the education, with the educational campaign that I think is necessary to move the culture forward, to bring in new people into the culture, to remind the old ones why we are here, right? Rastafari culture is more relevant today than even before, because of the continued killing of black men in the United States and the recent protests that have been, sparked worldwide. And this is a perfect opportunity for Rastafari to come in with our message now of redemption for black people, right? We need to point out to our black people in Jamaica, throughout the Caribbean, in the United States, throughout Europe, wherever, that look at what is happening to us. More than ever, we are asking for respect from white people. But why should they respect us? They can't respect us because we do not respect ourselves. We do not respect ourselves. We adopt everything that they adopt. We are behind them, pee clock. You understand? We adopt their view of us. We have that same negative view of ourselves. The universal feeling of despair and hopelessness experienced by black people throughout the world can only be answered by Rastafari, which provides hope and restores dignity to a black race so downtrodden and demoralized that they don't even know that they have the right to define God for themselves. That is what we want Rastafari to do again. That is what it was designed to do, to empower, to uplift, to educate black people about ourselves and our role in the world. We must not become well adjusted to injustice. We are so demoralized and downtrodden that we have accepted every dirty behavior, every nasty behavior, every oppression, every attack that is made on us. We have accepted it. And we are almost begging white people to see, please, can you please, not do this, and can you please not do that? No. Rastafari rose up specifically in response to that type of situation. Rastafari is the predictable and necessary response to the sustained assault on black people's dignity. It emboldens the black man to stand up for his rights, to challenge his oppressors, to fight for the liberation of Africa. On the other hand, Christianity compels black people to accept a worldview and a perspective that are destructive to black people and to our homeland of Africa. And these are the differences that we need to point out to black people and say, listen to me. Daniel, I have seldom ever found it necessary, to tell a black person that the Emperor, His Majesty, is God Almighty. I've seldom ever found it necessary to do that, because you tell them about themselves. You tell them what is happening to them in the world. Tell them about the racism that is so embedded in the culture that it goes unnoticed, that it parades itself as normal, and how this racism conspires with every other aspect of the culture to keep black people down. Once you start to show them that, let them understand that they have the right to define God for themselves. We have the right to, that white people have no luck on the God thing. They have no luck on it. They do not have the most perfect expression of God or the divine, because God and the divine existed before white people. We are the people. We are the inventors of God and the divine. Yes, black people, because we are the first people on the face of this earth. We are the first people God created, and He gave us the richest continent. What does that tell you? That creates a presumption, at least a presumption, that God is black, because it is unlikely that a white God is going to create black people as the first people. And it is indisputable that black people are the very first people, the oldest people on the face of this earth. And so that we must have a concept of God that fits in with our reality, right? Because what we know is this. What Rastafari know and must teach is that whoever controls your perception of God knows that he has a tool against you more powerful than any military weapon. When we try to talk to black people about God and why they must reject the poison that is Christianity, then they will say to us, what difference does it make what color God is? But it makes a difference, because if you're asking that question, it means that you do not understand the power of psychology and symbolism. The Christian church is the main purveyor of black self-hate and self-abnegation. Christianity portrays God, Jesus, and everything white and good, while simultaneously associating sin and evil with blackness. The very hymns of Christianity reaffirm the blackness of sin and the purity of whiteness. And these stereotypes filter through us. They filter through to us. And through this type of subtle brainwashing, the image of the black man as evil and inferior is reinforced. The slave religion requires black people, right? This slave religion, this Christianity, requires black people to subscribe to a theory of God that exalts whiteness over blackness and generally denigrates black people. It requires black people in the West to distance ourselves from African and our African culture, traditions, and customs. It requires us to take slave names and discard our true African names and identity. Christianity is a destruction of the black man's soul. And until we understand that, no, people who you can't serve a God outside of your ethnicity and prosper and progress. You can't.
Do you think
you cannot serve a God outside of your ethnicity?
Excuse me.
And expect to prosper. You can't. Because in order to prosper, you need self-confidence. You need self-respect. And I cannot emphasize, that is the starting point, Daniel. The starting point is that you must first see God in yourself and see God that looks like you. Must envision God that looks like you. Moreover, it is black people understanding and definition of God must include a scenario where God specifically avenges the wrongs that have been done to us and restore us to our original glory. No people can worship a God outside of their own ethnicity and expect to advance as a race or a culture. Indeed, there is nothing more evident of self-hatred and stupidity than for a people to represent their creator in the form of another race, and especially in the form of the race which has so brutally oppressed them throughout history. Do you understand?
I do. Yes, I.
That is so important. That is the crux of it, That is the long and the short of it. You must first love yourself. And you cannot love yourself while worshiping a God that looks like your oppressor. And that's Rastafari is more relevant today than ever. We should not be going to the white man's door and knocking at his door and begging him to accept us, to respect us, to see us as humans. We must see ourselves as the gods and the goddesses of the earth that we are, that we were created as. They came after us, and they have managed to successfully flip the script.
Yes, thanks, Empress.
So, yes.
Yes,
so, in closing, I want to say this, that self-knowledge and self-consciousness are so difficult to discover, but once found, it's impossible to let go of. And that self-knowledge and that self-consciousness comes through Rastafari culture.
Mm-hmm. And, while you were reasoning, I was thinking, because most of the points that you raised were dealing with the God concept, being that the black man and woman have been brainwashed and forced in a lot of cases to accept a deity that doesn't look like them but actually looks like their enemy. But I wanted to ask you now, besides the God aspect or the I don't want to say religious, but spiritual in that sense, where it comes to God, besides that aspect of life, can Rastafari be beneficial to African people? Because, not everybody's looking to convert to a different religion or, to forget about the religion that they already have. And, I reasoned recently with General Tao, and he mentioned that the biblical foundations of the Rastafari movement in its early conception is kind of counter to African customs and traditions. So how can Rastafari benefit African people who already have a black god or a black deity, black culture and things?
Right. I have addressed that, and this is one of the issues that we're going to address within this discussion, right, about this new faculty of understanding. And I don't know if you've seen any of my writings, Daniel, where I asked that very same question. Can Rastafari conceive of can it see itself in any of the indigenous religions of Africa? Because if you understand what Rastafari is about, self-empowerment, black liberation, freedom, dignity, self-respect, self-confidence, then it doesn't have to look exactly the way it looks in the West. Because remember, Rastafari came it was born out of a very unique set of circumstances that were not present in a lot of these indigenous African cultures on the continent. And so that their version of Rastafari, right, it will go under another name. But don't let the name fool you. It's not the name. It's the practices. It's the practices. It's the concept. It's the idea. There's a book called Christianity Before Christ that's telling you a lot of these principles that they were attributing to Christianity existed in other cultures long before Christianity was ever conceived. You understand?
Yes, I.
So that, yes, you have indigenous African people with their gods. They don't need a King James Bible. They don't need a Gideon Bible. They need no Bible. Because the concept of the divine needs no Bible. It needs no holy book. It just is. It just is. From the beginning of time, it just is. So when you're living in harmony with yourself, with nature, then that is, we can, African people, we're African people. We see God in everything. We see God in everything. That's why we have the reverence that we have for nature. That's, it is the white man that came with his greed. His insatiable appetite for more and more and more. That he just, he destroys the environment. That's not who we are. We take from the environment what we need when we need it and nothing more. Because we see the environment, it's all a continuum. It's the God. We are God in flesh. We are the manifestation of God in flesh. But we also see God in the river and in the ocean, in the sky, in the trees, in the plants, in the birds, in the animals. That is African concept. That continuum. So, right, this is one of the issues that I think, right, it's going to, it's going to certainly be discussed during this new faculty of understanding.
All right, give thanks. So I really hope and pray that the effort is received well and contributed to, so that we can get a broad scope of what Rastafari needs to be responsive to our needs, going forward. And, I would like to give thanks to Empress, Honorable Empress Marina, for taking time to be with us and for sharing, her motivation and also her analysis of Rastafari as it stands. Honorable Empress Marina, if there's anything that you would like to bring attention to as far as like community events or any meditation that you would like to share with the audience, here you have a moment to do that before we close.
So, as I said before, we need to get the powerful message of Rastafari out there. And the time is now, with all that is going on in the world, with black people sort of awakening now to, our true conditions, how we're really regarded, and that white people have no intention of treating us any better than they have. So now is the ideal time for us to go in with this powerful redemptive message of Rastafari.